Bhagavad Gita class. So we'll start with the class. We'll have little discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Then we'll try to recite and memorize one shloka. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So last time we were discussing Bhagavad Gita. What is Bhagavad Gita? Right? Bhagavad Gita is a talk between Lord Krishna and his friend and devotee Arjuna. And where did Bhagavad Gita discussion took place? It took place not in a temple, not in any ashram, not on the mountains, not in the forest. It took place in the battlefield. What is battlefield? Where war takes place. So then the question comes, why was Bhagavad Gita spoken on the battlefield when the war was going to take place? And among whom this war was going to take place? So we heard the background story. The war was going to take place between Pandavas and Kauravas. Pandavas are the 5 brothers: Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Nakul, Sahadev. So those 5 brothers are Pandavas, the son of Pandu. And then the Kauravas are the sons of Dhritarashtra, headed by Duryodhana. So Duryodhana, Dusashana, and all his other 100 brothers. And why did this war take place? Because Duryodhana had taken away all the kingdom of Pandavas by cheating. So he acquired all their kingdom, and when they wanted to get their kingdom back, he denied that I will not give you anything at all. And then Pandavas had sent their peace messenger, Lord Krishna himself, to do a peace negotiation. Still he did not agree. Duryodhana said, I will not give a land equal to the tip of the needle. So ultimately, then there was going to be war for Pandavas to get their kingdom back, which was rightfully their kingdom, and to destroy all the demoniac people. So when we say demoniac people, what does it really mean? Demoniac people, does it mean that somebody looks like a demon? He has 2 horns coming from his head. He has some long teeth or something. So it's nothing like that. A demoniac person is based on his mentality, his thought process, his consciousness. When he has so much of negative thinking to suppress others and to encroach upon others' property, that is a demoniac mentality. So that's why this war was going to take place. War between dharma and adharma. So Pandavas were on the side of dharma and Kauravas were on the side of adharma. And Bhagavad Gita was spoken before this war started because Arjuna was put into illusion. Arjuna was thinking, why should I fight this war? I have to kill my own relatives, friends, my uncle, teacher, grandfather. So why should I take place in this war? So that's why Arjuna did not want to fight. So he asked Krishna, please tell me what is right for me. What is my duty? What should I do? And Lord Krishna spoke this message of Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita is ultimately essence of all the scriptures. So we know there are Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads. Among all those scripture, the essence of all those scripture is Bhagavad Gita. So if somebody asks you, what is your scripture? What is your Shastra? What should we say? So we should immediately know Bhagavad Gita is one of our Shastra. It's one of the very most important scripture, Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita gives us guidance how to live this life meaningfully, how to live this life peacefully, meaningfully, purposefully. So that's why Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And Bhagavad Gita is not a religious book for one class of people. Okay, it is not that it is meant for Hindus or it is meant for Indians. Bhagavad Gita is universal knowledge. It can guide all the humanity throughout the world, no matter who that is. This is a universal book of knowledge. So war, why does war take place in first place? See, war happens at different level. War happen between two countries. Right now there is a attack on India by China or Pakistan. So the war happened between two countries. War So war happened between two families, brothers and sisters. War happened between husband and wife. War happened between friends and sometimes neighbors. So war can happen at different level in different sort of people. But what is the root cause of war? Because when somebody has their selfish motives, you know what is selfish motive? When somebody think, I want to do my way, I don't want somebody else to use this thing. This thing only belongs to me. So as a small children, you have war with your friends, right? War in the sense of small fights. You have small fight among your friends. No, this toy belongs to me. Only I can play with this toy. I will not share this toy with anybody else. So that is a war at a smaller level, small fight. So why does war take place? When people have their selfish motives and desires. So war can happen because of some possessions, for some power, but all the problem can be solved peacefully if people see both sides of the problem and try to come to an agreement. So our holy book, Bhagavad Gita, actually all the scriptures, all the Vedic scripture, they ultimately teach that one should not commit violence. Violence means one should not try to physically harm others. So our scriptures say we should not commit violence. Now, ahimsa paramo dharma. Okay, so you should remember that. What is that? Ahimsa parama dharma. Non-violence is the ultimate topmost religion. Ahimsa paramo dharma. But if we have to punish somebody, there has to be some sort of violence. For example, if a thief enters a house and try to steal away all the property from that house, and in that he harms the people who are living in that house. So if the cops come and they try to catch that thief and punish him, can we say the cops are causing violence against that thief? No, because the thief has to punish that, the cops have to punish that thief for his crime. So that is not violence. So we have to see what is really violence and what is justified violence. When we are trying to implement law and order, and for that purpose, if there has to be little violence, that is acceptable. That is not called adharma. For example, I will give another example. If there is a gang of robbers, okay, the gang of terrorists, they are going to attack on a city and they are going to kill all the hundreds or thousands of people living in that city. And cops come to know about the plan of the terrorist. So before the terrorists go and attack on that city, cops come and they they kill all those 5, 6 terrorists. Now, will be that act of violence? No, that is not the act of violence, because by killing those 5, 6 terrorists, ultimately they saved the life of thousands of innocent people who were going to be killed by these terrorists. So we have to see what is real violence and what is a necessary justifiable violence. So this violence is going on inside our heart also, inside our mind also, all the time. You know how? There is always a battle going on, a war going on inside our mind between the negative thoughts and positive thoughts. And sometimes it becomes really difficult to understand what is right, what is wrong, because both of the things seem to be right. Sometimes there is a battle between two right things, and we have to see what is the more important thing out of these two. So should I tell you a story? So once there was a sadhu, a hermit, and he was very famous for never speaking a lie. So he had a big reputation that he will never ever speak a lie. So once this hermit, this sadhu, was sitting in his outside his ashram and doing his tapasya meditation, and one village person came running from there, and he was running from a gang of dacoits. Those dacoits were chasing him to catch him, steal away all his wealth, and then kill him. So this person was trying to escape from them. So he ran in front of that ashram, in front of that hermit, and went into the forest and hid somewhere. And all those dacoits also came there chasing him. And they came to this sadhu, this hermit. Have you seen somebody going from here, running from here? Now this sadhu, he was able to sense that maybe that person is having some wealth with him, some money, and these are the dacoits, thieves, who are trying to catch him. They want to steal away all his wealth, and maybe they will kill him also. So he knew their intention, but then on the other side, he was thinking, if I don't tell the truth, if I lie to them that I did not see them, then it will spoil my reputation. It will spoil my brata, my vow of never speaking a lie. So he was under this dilemma. He wanted to save his reputation of always speaking truth. So he told those dacoits, yes, I saw that person. He went into this particular direction. So those dacoits went there. They were able to find that person. So they took away all his property and they killed him. Now, did this hermit do the right thing or wrong thing? See, on his side, he was thinking, I don't want to speak a lie. I want to speak the truth. Yes, speaking truth is one of the good quality. We should always tell a truth. But then on the other side, he ended up committing a violence, even though he himself did not kill that person, but he participated in committing violence against that person by telling those thieves where he's hiding. So he became part of that violence, of committing that violence. So sometimes we have this conflict going on in our mind. Should I do this or should I do that? So if we have to choose between those two things, what will you choose? Will you tell the truth and get that person caught and get killed, or you will, to save that person, to commit non-violence, you will tell a lie that, okay, I don't know where that person went, right? So sometimes we have to make a choice. So that sort of war is going in our mind always. And that's how in Arjuna's mind, this war was going on. Should I fight in this war or not? If I fight in this war, I have to kill my relatives, my brothers, my cousins, my uncle, my grandfather, my teacher. And if I kill them, there will be so many other things, consequences. So he was not able to determine what is the right thing for me to do. And that's how he surrendered unto Krishna. And what is the Bhagavad Gita starting point? How does Bhagavad Gita start? Bhagavad Gita start with a shloka spoken by Dhritarashtra. You know what is that first shloka of Bhagavad Gita? So we are going to recite the first shloka of Bhagavad Gita and try to learn that shloka, and maybe we will understand the little bit meaning of that shloka also. So I'm going to open Bhagavad Gita and I will share Bhagavad Gita with you. I will share my screen. Okay, so you all can see my screen. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see my screen. So the first shloka of Bhagavad Gita, actually it is spoken by Dhritarashtra. And who is Dhritarashtra? He is father of Duryodhana. So we will read that shloka. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavascheva Kim Kurvatah Sanjaya. Mataji, maybe we can try to unmute a couple of people at a time so we can recite the shloka.
Okay, Prabhuji. So should I unmute once in a time, or why is it?
You can unmute maybe 4 or 5 at a time.
Okay.
Not a shloka.
So this is shloka 1.1 spoken by Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra is speaking with his chariot driver, his servant Sanjay. Okay. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavascheva Imma Kurvatah Sanjaya. So when we learn, okay, wait, listen now, okay? So when we learn a shloka, when you want to learn how to memorize a shloka, consider this shloka is split into 4 parts. Okay? So first part is Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. Second part, Samahvetah Yuyutsavaha. Third part, Mamakah Pandavascheva. Fourth part, Kim Akurvatah Sanjaya. So we recite in that same meter. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharamkshetre Kurukshetre Samahveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakah Pandavascheva Kim Akurvatah Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra uvacha. Uvacha means said. So Dhritarashtra said, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. So the place Kurukshetra, which is also known as Dharmakshetra, the place of pilgrimage. Samaveta Yuyutsava. Samaveta means assembled. Yuyutsava means desiring to fight. Mamaka. Mamaka means my sons. Pandavas cha eva. And cha means and. Pandava, the son of Pandu. Kim akurvata. So Kim akurvata means it's a question. What did they do? So Kim akurvata, what did they do? O Sanjay. So Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra with the desire to fight, what did they do? So we are going to learn memorizing this shloka, and we are going to discuss this shloka a little bit. What is the thought process? What is Dhritarashtra thinking when he is asking this question? On one side, he is saying they assembled in Kurukshetra to fight. And on the second thought, he is saying, what did they do? So it means it is representing his doubt. He is doubtful that did they really fight, or are they going to make some negotiation under the influence of this place of pilgrimage? Because he is saying this is a place of pilgrimage, Dharma Kshetra. This is a place of Dharma. So will they really end up fighting, or they will come to some negotiation? So what did they do after assembling there? So we'll discuss that shloka later, maybe in the next class. But now we'll try to repeat the shloka a few times to memorize the shloka, and 5 minutes we'll take question answer. So Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Samavetaha Yuyutsavaha.
Samaveta Yuyuksavaha.
Mamakaha Pandavascheva.
Mamaka Pandavascheva. Mamaka Pandavascheva.
Kim akurvatah Sanjaya.
Kim akurvata Sanjaya.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Samavetaha Yuyutsavaha.
Samaveta Yuyuksavaha.
Mamakaha Pandavascheva.
Mamaka Pandavascheva.
Kim akurvatah Sanjaya.
Timmakurvata Sanjaya.
Okay, so now I'm going to recite the whole shloka, and then you try to recite the whole shloka. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharam kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavah mamakah pandavascheva kimakurvatah Sanjaya.
Dhritarashtra uvacha. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyuksavaha Mamaka Pandavascheva Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we'll have any question answer. Let's see if somebody has any questions.
Okay, so Varun, please ask your question, Varun.
Okay. When Arjuna was asking Krishna, what is my duty to do? He knew that he was a Kshatriya, so does that mean that he did not know what a Kshatriya did? Or
No, he knew. He knew he is a Kshatriya. He has fought many wars earlier also.
yes.
But he is just bewildered of his duty because many different thoughts are taking over, right? So he is not able to decide what is the ultimate thing, what is the best thing to do in this time. So he is a Kshatriya, he knows he should fight, but then he is thinking of, oh, if I have to kill my brothers, if I have to kill my relatives, is my kingdom more important for me, or having the mentality of non-violence is more important for me? Should I fight for my rights, or should I just give up my rights and take to the path of non-violence? If I kill my relatives, they all will die. And even after that, if I get the kingdom also, what is the use of that kingdom? So he was having all those thoughts. And that's why he wanted to ask Krishna, please tell me, what should I do? And ultimately, we should understand it was ultimately Krishna's plan that Arjuna was put into this bewilderment, so that Krishna could give out this message of Bhagavad Gita by making Arjuna as an instrument.
Yeah, so didn't Krishna give out the Krishna made Arjuna bewildered because he wanted to say the Bhagavad Gita. So did he say the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna so us people in Kali Yuga would know how to worship Krishna?
Yes, so ultimately everything happens with the will of Krishna. Nothing happens without the will of Krishna. So Krishna put Arjuna into that situation that Arjuna will ask this question, surrender unto Krishna, and Krishna will give out this message, essence of all the scriptures in the form of Bhagavad Gita, for Arjuna's benefit also, and for the benefit of all the people to come in future, for all of us.